Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, thank you very much for the very detailed, informative answers. In this world, we always talk of chemistry. So, may I use the word chemistry? What chemistry do we require to have strong and intimate Vaishnava relationships?
Okay. So, what chemistry do we need to have strong and intimate Vaishnava relationships? Actually, this idea that, for example, the word chemistry, the usage of chemistry for relationships is common often in Bollywood. This hero and this heroine, they have got very good chemistry. But this idea of using chemistry, it actually comes from a very mechanistic view of people. That basically our relationships and our emotions in the relationships are simply products of the biochemicals, or the chemicals that go around in our brains. So there are researchers, psychiatrists who have done research, and there's a famous book. They say that romance has a shelf life of 9 months. What does that mean? Romance has a shelf life of 9 months. That sometimes people may say, oh, I saw her, she saw me, or I saw him, he saw me, and then we felt an instant connection. When we touched each other, we felt electricity moving through our body, and people feel all those emotions. So now, when they feel all these emotions, it's possible that there is some attraction between people. But that is simply the stimulation of certain chemicals in the brain and in the body. And that chemical stimulation stays for a period of 9 to 15 months. And afterwards, what happens is that people just don't feel anything like that again. And so then we say that people talk about love at first sight. Well, love at first sight may happen, but the relationship will depend on what you feel after many sights. So, if the relationship is based only on the surface feelings, then people may say initially, I can't live without you. And after 9 months, when the chemicals dry up, they say, I can't live with you. So, firstly, where relationships are not a product of chemistry. Having said that, we can go deeper and understand that we all have certain natures. Now, nature is not just a matter of chemistry, it's also a matter of psychology. So, by chemistry, we refer to neurons and the chemicals that are secreted in the brain. But that is only the surface level. We all have a swabhava which is based on the impressions that are there in the mind. And in cricket, they say form is temporary, but class is permanent. That means sometimes some batsmen may be in form, sometimes may not be in form. But if they have basic talent, basic class, then that will keep coming again and again. So like that, the chemicals that are there, either they may be sometimes secreted, sometimes they may not be secreted. Sometimes at a surface level, we may feel or may not feel attraction. But when there is a meeting of minds, when people are like-minded, then the relationships are very sustainable. So firstly, in devotee circle, when we initially come, we simply, whoever introduces us to Krishna consciousness, we understand the philosophy, we start practicing the process, and we are very inspired. And that is very good. And as we keep moving forward in our bhakti, we start finding that there are certain things that inspire us more than other things. Some of us may like deity worship more, some of us may like distribution more, some of us may like to study the philosophy more, some of us may like to cook more. There are so many different services in bhakti, and associated with these services, there are definitions of success. So, for example, somebody may consider studying Shastra very deeply and understanding the various aspects of Shastra very important. Others may think, yes, that is good, but we should do other things also. There's no need to go so deep into Shastra. We can do deity worship. So, there will be basically different devotees with different interests, or in today's language, we can say different definitions of success. So Rupa Goswami says in the Bhakti Sam Sindhu that we need devotees who have sajatiya ashaya bhagavad bhakti sangha. That means sajatiya ashaya, like-minded. Those who have similar dispositions to what we have. So we need to find out And those devotees with whom we can connect, the way they think, what they aspire for in bhakti, what they value the most, when we can connect, even if there are one or two devotees like that, we should treasure and nourish those relationships. To go out of the way to nourish those relationships, and they with those relationships will nourish us. So that's first of all understanding what is our inspiration in bhakti and finding out who also has similar interest, similar inclination, similar inspiration, and linking with them. That will give us a very comfortable feeling of being at home in bhakti when we have like-minded association. At the same time, we also, even like-minded devotees are not alike. There are still differences among them also, and that's why there will always be some amount of variety and individuality, and that we have to take in our stride. And along with that, also we need to recognize that because different devotees are of different natures, when we are dealing with different devotees, we should not evaluate all devotees from the same perspective, same lens. Oh, you don't do any book distribution, you don't raise any funds, therefore what you're doing is not of no use. Rather, when we are associated with other devotees who are inspired differently, at that time, we need to adjust ourselves to try to see things from their perspective as much as possible. Sometimes some people say, with them, my wavelength doesn't match. Yes, it's possible that wavelength doesn't match. Now, if we have to live in a community, and especially if I have to do some services with those devotees, then humility often means adjusting our wavelength so that it matches. Try to see things from their perspective. So there will be, if you look at it, some devotees with whom we can instantly connect. Some devotees with whom we have to endeavor a little bit, and then we can connect. Some devotees with whom we find it very difficult to connect. And there are some devotees whom we can barely tolerate. It'll happen like that also. So once I was giving a class, after that, I was telling after the class, we have to practice tolerance. So we have to tolerate many things in bhakti. So what are the things that we have to tolerate? So one devotee raised the hand. He says, yes, we have to tolerate devotees. So I said, yes, it's a good realization that we have to tolerate devotees. And if we advance more, then we'll realize that devotees are tolerating us. So basically, there are different grades of relationships. And if we have the first level, where at least one or two we have relationships, where we just connect with people, then that will give us the inspiration. And with that inspiration, these relationships are very difficult to tolerate. Where we have to constantly, being in that relationship is like walking in a landmine. Suddenly anything may explode. There are relationships like that. So we will get the strength to tolerate those relationships also if we have these relationships. So basically, we need like-minded devotees with whom we can naturally relate. And then with other devotees, we try to adjust our minds so that we can connect with them more. And some devotees we may have to tolerate. But intimate relationships we cannot have with everyone. And that's why with whoever we find that we are able to connect, we should see that as Krishna's blessings. And we need to invest time in developing those relationships. Does it answer your question?